The New York primary is a homecoming for Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. Both candidates are New Yorkers. Clinton lives outside the city and Sanders grew up in Brooklyn. Sanders' wife Jane is also from Brooklyn. We noticed that she's been more of a presence on the campaign trail. We wanted to learn more about the other Sanders, so she took our CBS News digital journalist Kylie Atwood on a tour of her old neighborhood.
This is Jane Sanders.
Hi.
And her husband, Senator Bernie Sanders, is running for president, and she used to live here.
I used to live here.
And this is the fourth floor.
Yep. And which is your apartment? Oh, don't tell me. Okay. I think that was my apartment.
No way.
Your windows look out on the back, right?
Yeah.
This is my old apartment. This is amazing. The borders around the, you know, these things.
Yeah.
This thing
The
here.
molding? Okay.
Yeah, the
Okay.
molding.
Nothing changing here.
Yeah.
Mrs. Sanders, Bernie Sanders' wife, the one you say you're gonna vote
She
for.
grew up here.
She grew up in my apartment, in our apartment.
That is amazing.
Hold on.
I'll say hi.
Yes.
Her name is Simone. Hi, Simone. This is Jane Sanders.
How you doing?
Good. How are you? Class equestrian.
What about your mom? What would she say to you if she saw where you are today?
Well, she'd say, I'm so proud of you. She would. And my dad would be beaming. He's handsome, tall, and they would be so happy. And Bernie and I talk about that, actually, how our parents would be astounded at what's been going on. And they were always our biggest supporters. So that's I think that's the most important thing that anybody can have, a supportive parent. I never would have envisioned marrying somebody and being supportive of him in that role.
Okay, so you were the youngest of 5 kids, but you were the only girl.
Yes.
So did that mean that you got hurt more?
Yes, because I didn't believe I was younger. I just never knew I was younger. I always thought I could do anything they could do.
Yeah.
And it just didn't stop. I feel that St. Xavier opened up the world to me. I wasn't a great student. I wanted to learn, but I wanted to learn what I wanted to learn. Does that sound familiar to anybody here?
Bernie, when you were this age, do you think you would have liked him?
Stand in the back, maybe? I think.
Do you know much about him at that
Well, I
age?
know that I saw him when he was running, when he was running for Liberty Union.
Okay.
And I saw the things that he was. I just thought he was so arrogant. I said I would never have gone out with you. I've told him that the whole time. I would never have gone out with you at that point. But he's gotten, you know, it's funny, as he's gotten more success, he's gotten less arrogant, more humble. You know, it's interesting that it's quite different. Yeah, I wouldn't have gone out with him when he was younger. Okay, are you?
Clinton has been, you know, coming out and saying that some of the guns that are coming into New York State are coming from Vermont, and the Washington Post says that's significantly misleading.
Yes, it is. And that is the most difficult thing in this campaign. The fact that somebody would significantly mislead the voters about the facts is something that that's the thing I have a hard time with. I really want to be able to respect all the people in this race.
Good man there.
I know. Yeah.
Can't wait to vote for you on the 19th, man.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
There's about 6 of us that he trusts to talk strategy and plans and scheduling, and we're the inner circle to make those decisions. He runs his own campaign. He always has. And he transformed Burlington, Vermont into one of the most livable cities in America, and it's noted as that. So he would do that
He
there.
doesn't talk about that on the trail as much.
He doesn't.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He talks about his issues for sure,
He does.
but he doesn't talk about, you know, what he did as mayor and like the change that brought about.
I'll talk about it all the time, and that's the advice I give him almost all the time.
You are running against Bill Clinton for the same position.
For the same position, I guess so. Yeah.
Do you think about it like that?
I don't. I think both Bill Clinton and I are supporting our spouses as best we can. And I know I'm trying to stay out of the fray and out of the idea that anything other than he's the best candidate as far as I'm concerned, and I'm his wife.
If you could go back at the beginning and, change anything, would there be anything that you would change?
If I was going to do something differently, I think I would say, let's decide in January and let's get out there sooner, because the more people get to know him, the more they support him. That's an enviable place to be.
And CBS News digital journalist Kylie Atwood is back in Brooklyn in the post-debate spin room. Kylie, great interview. Great to see you. It seems like we have seen more of Jane Sanders on TV and on the campaign trail. Why now?
Well, when Bernie Sanders got into the campaign, one of the first things he said was, "Don't underestimate me." And I think a similar line could go along with Jane Sanders. At the beginning of the campaign, she was a bit more behind the scenes. And now we see her out talking to people. She's working the rope line. And she really has kind of a magnetic, natural personality. And so I think the campaign has taken note of that. And they've said, hey, let's send you out more. We've seen her go to small meetings. We've seen her meet especially with populations of African-American voters and Latino voters. We saw her go to Hawaii, and the campaign ended up winning Hawaii. So I think that they realize that, maybe she's a dark horse and they should be using her more because people love her and she loves being out there.
Yeah, tell me about that, because what has this campaign been like for her? She does seem very at ease. She does seem very comfortable.
Well, one thing I realized when walking around Brooklyn with Jane Sanders is that she's very independent. She grew up, as you saw in that piece, as the youngest of 5 kids. She had 4 older brothers, so she was kind of, running around on the streets. She had a lot of friends, but she was the youngest. She was a tough little girl, and her mom was a hard worker. Her mom worked for years, long days, and her dad was actually injured when he was younger, so he wasn't around. And so she didn't really have her parents with her every day, and so she gained this independence. And I think, you see that independence at play on the campaign trail. And so for her, it's been really fun. She's been engaged in what she wants to be engaged with, and she's been talking to the younger voters, which is a certain, group that she says that she would target if she did become the First Lady.
Kylie, I'm just curious, you are one of our intrepid digital journalists that's essentially been embedded with campaigns now for months. Did anything surprise you? It was fun to hear her talk about, for instance, her relationship with Bernie Sanders.
Well, I have to say, one interesting thing about their relationship is that they would be the first interfaith couple in the White House. And I asked her about that, and I said, does that mean anything to you? Do you guys talk about that a lot? And she said, you know what, we don't really talk about it a lot, but if we did get in the White House, it's something we would talk about. And I also found it interesting that when I asked her, how do you keep yourself sane on the campaign trail, she showed me a small picture of Pope Francis that she keeps in her purse. And so for her, her Catholic faith is something that's really close to her. Now her husband, Senator Sanders, is Jewish, and he is going to be actually going to Vatican City tomorrow. And I asked her, you're the Catholic one in this relationship. Did you push him to do this? And she said, no. This was all him. He really feels connected to Pope Francis because Pope Francis stands up for, equality for all people. And he's the one who's talking about the problems that wealth inequality is having on this world. And so Sanders feels connected. But I found it sort of interesting that, their differences in religion isn't something they talk about, but it's something she would want to talk about if she were in the White House.
All right, really interesting insights. Kylie Atwood for us in the post-debate spin room. Thank you so much.
Thanks.